is The Road to Cannes. I'm Ty Heath, Director at LinkedIn's B2B Institute think tank, and I'm joined today by Tom Stein, Chairman and Chief Brand Officer at Stein IAS, and Paul Hirsch, who is Chief Creative Officer and CEO at Doremus. Both of them are leaders in the space of B2B, and we've all served as judges in the Creative B2B Lion over at Cannes. And these two served as jury presidents. So we've got jury president year one. Paul had the honor of serving there, and Tom served with me in year two. And so can you believe it? It's now year three. Welcome, let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, it's amazing, that this will be the 71st year of Cannes, and B2B. This will only be the third year that B2B is present there in a meaningful way with its own category. But I think it's kind of a marker of the progression in B2B, the progression of creativity in B2B, and I think year to year to year to year, the expectation and the hope is that the work keeps elevating.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and Paul, reflecting on the third year for you, like what comes up? I mean, year one, kicking everything off, and now we're at year three.
Yeah,
how are you feeling about it?
I think it's great to to see the work last year, and the first year was pretty daunting. I mean, it was kind of interesting to actually lead the jury in the first year because there was nothing. There was no precedent. I mean, you talk about the 71st year. At the time, I don't know how many years film was going on, but there is a whole history, a canon of work to judge against, and with B2B, there was nothing.
Did you feel a lot of pressure?
I felt a lot of pressure. I felt a lot of pressure that we weren't going to mess it up. I think we were very fortunate to have some great work there to kind of establish exactly what it means to win a B2B Lion at Cannes. Not something else, but what it means to be a B2B Lion. And I think that's the great challenge.
Yeah, I think having been on that jury with Paul, and Paul did a wonderful job actually of helping everyone think about what this opportunity, what this occasion meant to B2B, and how we needed to think about ourselves as a category, because it would be setting a precedent, the first precedent. And one of the things that Paul said that has stuck with me ever since is that, the work that we elevate to award status here should be of the caliber that it would win award in another category outside of B2B, and I thought that was it was a great bit of guidance for us, and I think it led to the right kind of process.
It did, and I think that's it. I think the work has to stand up. B2B, as we know, as we practice B2B, and it's tough. It's tough, and it's tough to make great work. But when you get to a show like Cannes, there's no curve. It's not because it just did well at a different B2B show, or the client likes it, or the agency does it. It's judged against other work, and it really has to step up. And I think that's the real challenge. And I think, like I said, the first year was great. I think we had some amazing work that still holds the test of time that is out there, and I think year two is the same way. So I think as you look at year three, I hope Andisa and the rest of the jury gets to look at work that can push things even further.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to set the tone and have it be a beacon for B2B. One of the cool things is hearing a lot of more B2B leaders feeling like Cannes is a place where we can show up.
Yeah, and we saw that in year two. There were more B2B CMOs present, there were more B2B creatives present, more agencies present, more clients present, and there was a real feeling that a B2B community within the broader Cannes community was really starting to take hold. And I also think that carried through in the work. And so there were more entries from more countries. I think that generally speaking, the caliber of the work was a bit higher. And I think people understood from year one what warranted an award and what didn't, and they were more selective in what they entered. And that's my hope for year three, is that it expands, but it also, the quality it expands with the amount of entrant.
It's always about the work, but to me it's like, how do we influence CMOs? How do we influence agencies? Because I think, I'm sure you see it within your own agency, we do a lot of great work. It's just like, how do you get someone to buy it? How do you get them see that there is value in it, not only just creatively, but economically for their brand? And I think that's what Cannes does. And so for me, the hope is that it's going to influence a whole next generation of marketers I mean, B2CRA has very sophisticated marketers. They've been doing it a very long time, and the hope is that the work itself and what Cannes is doing influences these marketers to take more chances, to be more ambitious, and to go outside their comfort zone to really get exponential growth for their business.
Let's talk about that. Given what we've seen in year one and year two, and knowing the categories, what would you like to see more of in year three?
Well, I would like to see more people taking bigger swings. So maybe it's baseball season and I'm sort of in a baseball mindset, but the B2B still, been a lot of progress, but a lot of the creative is kind of nibbling around the edges. And that certainly won't cut it at Cannes, but I don't think that cuts it, period. And I think that there needs to be more work, there should be more work, hopefully there will be more work at Cannes this year. That I used the word when I was judging in 23, audacious, that has an audacious aspect to it. And I think that's good for businesses, and that's what drives advertising and marketing effectiveness. And so I think that as that certainty becomes more apparent to people, especially the CMOs, and then especially to the CFOs and the CEOs, then that's how the whole category elevates.
Yeah, that's what makes it memorable.
Yeah.
We were talking about big, bold, audacious B2B. Paul, what would you like to see more of?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Tom. 10 of 10, no notes on that. I think, how do you take the big swing? It is, how are you audacious? I've had clients in the past when we've presented work, and they've said, if I have to be boring to get from A to B, I'll do it, which I think is fine. But I think marketing is an engine for growth, and you can treat it like it's a bank account that you get pennies on the dollar, or you can invest in it to get real growth. And I think that's the work that gets rewarded at Cannes. That's stuff that takes a big swing. I think the case studies and the results prove it out. So I think it's that, and also seeing more brands play at Cannes I think is great. I think bigger brands, different brands. Last year you saw Workday.
Yeah.
Play.
Loved
which,
Workday.
it started out as a Super Bowl spot. Should that be in B2B? It's a B2B client. I think advertising is a circus, and I think the tent is big enough that any brand can play within it. So, the more the merrier.
Yeah, when I think about the gold medalist in Grand Prix last year, Ty, we Workday was a gold medalist, and it should have been. There was real commitment to that work. There's real craft around the idea, the use of a variety of creative strategies, from humor to celebrities and
rock stars.
Rock stars, but that's not all the time in B2B. And I think we need to move to that. Needs to be, maybe not all the time, but most of the time, that needs to be more of the norm than the exception. And I think that's a huge takeaway for all of us. And then, if you think about what won the Grand Prix, which was the Earth 4, that was audacious in a completely different way, where it was about deep, substantive things. And so that's what's great about B2B. You can go from rock stars to something about IPOing Earth as an idea.
Right.
It was just amazing.
The message that sends to what's possible, what B2B can do. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Great, well, we have a fellow judge that's going to be serving as the jury president this year. So Andisa Ntsubane is going to be the judge this year. And I'm just curious, do you have, as jury presidents, you talked about the pressure, a little bit of taking on that role, setting the tone for the category. I'm wondering, what advice do we have for Andisa? Tom, I think you spoke with him recently.
I did.
Any advice for it?
So Andisa's great. He's going to make a great jury president. And so he's the CMO of Vodacom Africa, and having an African jury president for the B2B category this year, I think is fantastic in and of itself. And he's fantastic. And he doesn't need much advice. He's a pretty smart guy, but he's also a humble guy. So I think he'll appreciate advice. But he has I've seen him talk a couple of times, and he has a phrase that he uses, that in building a brand, what he aspires to do is build a brand that's worthy of emulation. And I love that, a brand that's worthy of emulation. And if he takes that and uses that as a filter for the jury this year, work that's worthy of emulation, I think that's pretty good. I think that would be my advice. Go for that.
Stand by that. And what advice do you have, Paul?
I agree. For me, it's like, hopefully they pick work that makes us all jealous.
Now, this is B2B's time. I really think for all sorts of reasons, this is B2B's time. I think LinkedIn has done a fantastic job with B2Believe, the work that LinkedIn does at Cannes, and so on. And I think that we as a group of creators and a group of agencies and a group of brands, need to take advantage of this opportunity because it's there for the taking, but we have to do the work.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. We want to shine a light on great work and have it be inspiring, especially for this next generation of marketers. I do have a question, though, to bridge that. What advice do you have for marketers thinking about entering for a creative B2B Lions? Because it can feel daunting. I know B2B is still kind of ramping up into it. There are some skills that it takes to invest in actually getting an award out the door. What advice do we have for folks that are thinking about it? How do we convince more B2B to take part in this?
Well, I think winning a Cannes is, it's an art and a science. And even if you have good work, if you don't enter it properly, you won't win. And I saw that, I won't name the brand, but a very famous brand that did very famous work a couple of years ago didn't win, and it's because they didn't position it in the right way to connect with the judges. So I think understanding the mentality of the judges and the process helps a lot, and then being really tough on your work, because as Paul said earlier, it's only work at a certain level that will be considered. And so I think that if it's not audacious, if it's something that is kind of unique in the world that you're bringing to the world, then go for it. But I also think that you have to start entering. You have to build a muscle. And then you learn and you progress. You see if you didn't win, then the next year you will win, and because you'll have learned from the process. You can't win if you don't play.
Can't win if you don't play. What does it mean to an agency to win?
I agree with Tom, though. You got to take the shot. Mm-hmm. You got to take the shot. When the first year we had there was a campaign in there which I think was everyone's favorite. It was like the little underdog, which is handle with I don't care, which I think was made for the price of the campaign. It was created with probably what it cost to enter at Cannes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was great. It was everyone's favorite. It was about showing the durability of a glass product, which they actually just put in the mail and sent to clients, and the sales went through the roof. So I think you just have to enter it. I think it means a great deal. I think, it's hard to be in this business if you don't advertise and market for yourself. We do this for clients every day. We tell them to go out there, be in the world, be audacious and bold, and you need to do that for yourself. So I think for the agencies out there, for the marketers out there, I think any opportunity you get to say yes to something, you do. And I think that's the most important thing. I think that's what's going to change. It was the question we had posed to us earlier is like, how do you invest in B2B? And yeah, it would be great to have the budget of Workday to put into something. Handle with I don't care did it on a shoestring. I just think, I wish that clients out there just said yes more to ideas, and I think the work that would be out there would be, a sea change out there, and we'd see more entry in Cannes, and I think it would help the category.
So I would answer that with the word fame. Fame is good, and I think that whether the fame is for the brand, whether the fame is for the agency, whether it's for the individual creators within the agency, fame is actually good for business. Highly awarded work is more effective work. That's proven by study after study after study. The business impact of good work is apparent. So, but fame, it's not an over-the-top thing. It's good. Fame is good.
It sets the tone. And especially for the culture and the people working in it as well.
Gordon Gekko a little.
No, I think it's great.
Fame is good.
Fame is good.
I look at it from the same perspective, but I think there's also another thing to that is like, the job is hard.
Yeah.
Being a marketer, being in advertising, being a creative is really difficult. 99% of the ideas that you present die. You have to have a really thick skin to do it. And if you can make it through the gauntlet, the meat grinder that is approval and the time and production and produce something that is amazing, that's awesome. You got to enter it.
Yes.
So
you have one more thing to add?
Just
Sure.
one more quick thing.
Take us home.
Is You know, thinking about the 3 years, first year, setting the stage, second year, progression, settling in, bigger, more, broader participation. I think this third year is about claiming the respect that B2B is owed. You know, I think we fought the fight, and our third year is really about really showcasing that and a little bit of swagger in the category.
Yes.
So that's what I'd love to see.
Yes, I think those are great words to end this conversation on, claiming the respect that B2B deserves. Absolutely. So thank you both for the conversation today, for your contribution to B2B, setting the tone for creativity. And thank you so much to the audience and everyone who's going to participate in one way or the other in B2B creativity overall.